everyone, and a warm welcome to all the audiences who have joined this important program on World Mental Health Day. This program is a uh, program jointly by the Indian Teachers of Psychiatry and the Minds United for Health Sciences and Humanity Trust in this auspicious day of World Mental Health Day 2020, where the World Health Organization has called for investment in the mental health. This program specifically looks at investment in the teachers' training, and this program, as per schedule, will be starting in a couple of minutes. And this program, the scholarship has been funded by the Infosys Foundation. This panel has distinguished speakers. I would like to introduce the chairpersons of today's evening. First is Professor Arun from the Medical Education Unit of JSS Medical College and JSS Academy of Higher Education, who has nearly a decade of experience in the medical education. He has also won the Best Teacher Award in the JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research. He is well known, and he organized the medical education conference in 2018 at JSS Mysore. And I warmly welcome the chairperson for this evening, Professor Arun.
Thank you, Kishor.
Then the second chairperson of this evening is Dr. Vinay HR, who is at the medical education at Adi Chunchandgiri University and Adi Chunchandgiri Institute of Medical Science. Dr. Vinay has been a distinguished teacher. He has consistently led the undergraduates to win all the prizes at the Indian Psychiatric Society at state, national, and the zonal level for consistently last 7 to 8 years. He is considered as a role model in training the undergraduates in psychiatry. He won the 2018 Indian Teachers of Psychiatry Award. I welcome Dr. Vinay HR.
Thank you, Kishor.
Now I request the chairperson, Professor Arun and Dr. Vinay, to carry forward with this program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kishor. That is kind of you to introduce us. So as already context has been set, so let's begin this webinar on greater investment in psychiatry teachers, a larger access to mental health through trained doctors. So I wholeheartedly welcome on behalf of the trust and the whole of the team, all the resource persons for today. And I take the privilege of introducing today's chief guest. So he is a Professor of Excellence, Professor of Eminence, and Professor Emeritus. He is a eminent personality in the medical field, Dr. Vedprakash Mishra, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir. He is Dr. B.C.Roy National Awardee, and he has been conferred with the highest academic distinction by various universities. He is the National Head of Academic Program of Indian Program, UNESCO Chair in Bioethics Haifa, and member of the International Committee for Bioethics for Asia Pacific region. He is a Chief Advisor to Honorable Chancellor at Krishna Institute of Medical Sciences, Karad. He is also Pro-Chancellor, Dattamege Institute of Medical Sciences, Nagpur. He is Advisor for Human Ethics Committee Association, Bangalore. He is a Dean, Academic and Accreditation Board, National Indian Medical Association, New Delhi. He is an Honorary Professor at Indian Medical Association. He is a Honorary Director, Center for Health Sciences, Education Policy and Planning, Nagpur. He was formerly Vice Chancellor at Dattamege Institute of Medical Sciences and also former Chairman at Postgraduate Medical Education Committee, Medical Council of India, New Delhi. He was also a former Chairman, Academic Council, Medical Council of India, New Delhi. And the list goes on. And to be frank, his awards, medals, prizes runs into pages. So it's indeed our pleasure to have you with us, sir. And I invite you for symbolically inaugurate and launch this exclusive scholarship for psychiatry teachers, which is in short called as IToP steps, and make opening remarks. Please, sir. So it's a symbolic, you will have to click it and inaugurate, sir. Thank you, sir. So you will also be releasing the flyer of this IToP steps. Thank you, sir. So over to you, sir, for your opening remarks.
Thank you very much, learned chairperson, for today's this beautiful ceremony on the virtual mode. Professor Arun, learned chairperson, Professor Vijay, my learned friend, Dr. Satyanarayana Rao, all the members of the organizing committee of this notable venture. At the outset, before recording my sense of thankfulness and gratitude to me for giving this opportunity of being a part of this notable ceremony and occasion, I extend very warm wishes to all of you on the World Mental Health Day. There could not have been a better occasion than the commemoration of this notable day for the venture that has been undertaken so diligently for the purposes of enrichment of the teaching skills of the psychiatry teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, the steps that you have contemplated in the form of a very notable program, it is not only laudable because I have been a lifelong teacher, but this is something which is inevitably necessary. Not from the point of view of recognizing the merit or worth of the teaching community at large, but really making them what a teacher is expected to be standing for. As your arena of indulgence is psychiatry, I would like to put it very candidly that the role and responsibility that a teacher is expected to be vested with has been so diligently incorporated in the first Education Commission report penned by legendary Dr. Sarvapalli Dr. Radhakrishnan. A teacher is an inspiration. A teacher is a mentor. A teacher is an inspirer. A teacher is a role model. A teacher is a communicator. A teacher is a chiseler. A teacher is a shaper. A teacher is an articulator. And a teacher is that who is capable of inscribing the future of a society and a country as a whole. These are the dimensions which have been attributed by Dr. Radhakrishnan to what a teacher ought to be. I am tempted to quote a small little sentence from the Second Education Commission report penned by legendary educationist Dr. D.S. Kothari. And Chairman, sir, one of the beautiful sentences which haunts me even today is what he said about the teacher. And he quotes, "Future of the country is shaped in its classrooms," unquote. If the country has to have a future, if the society has to have a future, then that destined future is expected to be scripted by a class of people which are called as teachers. That is the role of a teacher. That is the relevance of a teacher. In words of John Dewey, an ordinary teacher teaches. A good teacher
Sir, you have gone on mute, sir.
Vinay, you can unmute from your side also, I think. No, sir, we can't unmute, sir.
Yeah, it's now okay.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yes, yes.
As I was enunciating, it is that dimension of the teachership wherein a mediocre teacher is only teaching, giving information, transferring information. A good teacher demonstrating, but a real teacher inspiring the generation. It's in that context the role and relevance of a teacher in any and every domain of creativity, of shaping the generation is paramount. Here is an initiative which has taken the onus of enriching the teaching skills of teachers in psychiatry. That enrichment is necessary. Any skill, it has to be sharpened. It has to be rationalized. It has to be channelized. It has to be chiseled. It's in that context, ladies and gentlemen, I had the fortune of venturing into a faculty development program on behalf of the Academic Council of the Medical Council of India as its chairman way back in 2009 for the orientation of medical teachers in regard to the pedagogy, the teaching skills, ensuring that the best teaching learning stands extended out of the hand. Learning cannot be taxing. Learning has to be interesting. It has to be focused. It has to be acute. It has to be assessment driven, and it has to be demonstrable, and it has to be demonstrated by a living role model. And that role model ought to be the teacher. It is that onus which is required to be inbuilt in him or her, and it is that which is required to be enriched. I really salute the venture undertaken by this initiative, wherein the teachers would be given scholarships for the purposes of enriching their teaching skills, pedagogical skills, andragogical skills, and that will be spreading over not only to teaching learning. It spills over to structuring the curriculum. It spills over to working out the syllabi. It spills over to working out the teaching tools. It spills over to working out the approaches to teaching and learning. It spills over to techniques to be incorporated for that particular purpose. And finally, it turns out to be working out the entire shaping in an integrated manner, wherein the set out objectives which have been put across for the purpose of education, they are met with, they are duly assessed, and they end up in certifying. Classically, it has been said in Indian mythology that perhaps nobody would like anybody to defeat him or her. But here is a grandeur of a teacher. Here is a stature of a teacher. Here is a magnanimity of a teacher who says that, yes, I would like to be defeated. I would like to be surpassed. I would like to be trespassed. But then by whom? Not by destiny, but by a learner of mine, whereby he has to be qualitatively superior, qualitatively taller, qualitatively more ramified, and qualitatively more knowledgeable than what I am. That is what a teacher has to stand for. And it is in that context, the Indian ethos of the Guru Parampara, the Indian ethos of Guru Shishya Parampara. If I am required to be surmising into two little phrases, Chairman Sir, I will be putting it only this. It is said that anything which has got a mass in terms of the physical principles will get converted into weight only when it is multiplied by acceleration due to gravity. And therefore the simple formula m, small m standing for the mass, multiplied by small g standing for the acceleration due to gravity is equal to w, the weight. Weight cannot be generated to anything, although it may have a mass. It has to be multiplied by the acceleration due to gravity. This physical principle in real life turns out to be m mass. Mass is of the learner, the critical mass. This small g acceleration due to gravity, I am replacing by a capital G, which stands for Guru, the enriched teacher, is equal to then W, not the weight of the learner, but permit me to say so, WORTH, worth of the learner. Steps, therefore, is generation of that capital G to multiply with that small m of every learner of psychiatry, resulting in not the weight being converted from mass to weight, but the critical mass getting converted into a worthwhile, not only a learner of psychiatry, not only a professional of psychiatry, not only a professional practitioner of a society, not only committed to the cause of psychiatry, but also turning out to be a taller teacher in psychiatry. And that is exactly the mantle of race which I would like to be advocated out of this. I am not here to describe how relevant it is. I do not have to tell you how thrilled I am. Believe me, if I would not have been a party to this particular program, I would have definitely missed my moral expression of patting your back for such a notable venture. It is bound to succeed, and it is bound to really enrich the entire teaching learning of domain in psychiatry in times to come in an exemplary manner, which will be emulative in its own right. Thank you very much for this initiative. I record my appreciation, I record my gratitude, and permit me to say so, I record my salutations to all of you. Thank you very much for patient listening. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That was quite encouraging remarks by an exemplary person like you, sir. Thank you very much. So as such, we have a great regard for you, sir, and we hope we'll take this initiative to its logical end. And we wholeheartedly thank you for making some time out for us and inaugurating this session. And we are grateful to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure.
On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend thanks to Professor B.P. Mishra sir for inaugurating this program. Now, may I request Dr. Kishor M., Associate Professor of Psychiatry, JSS Medical College and Hospital, JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research, and Chief Architect of this entire program, to kindly submit a token of gratitude from our side to Ms. Sudha Murty, Chairperson, Infosys Foundation, and Dr. Sunanda Kulkarni, Senior Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology and Editor of Essentials of Psychiatry for OBG Practitioners. Over to you, Dr. Kishor.
Thank you so much. I'll share my screen. It's indeed a great pleasure and a honor to convey our gratitude to Srimati Sudha Murty, Chairperson of Infosys Foundation, and Dr. Sunanda Kulkarni, Senior Professor of OBG and the Editor of Essentials of Psychiatry for OBG Practitioners. Srimati Sudha Murty is now a world-renowned person, and she has been known extensively from the length and breadth of this country. Interestingly, on World Mental Health Day, she believes in investing in mental health as the best investment. For her contribution to the mental health through her writings, which are now sold in millions of copies, her advocacy for mental health issues, and she has been the recipient of Dr. R.L. Kapoor Memorial Award bestowed upon her just a couple of days from the Indian Psychiatric Society Karnataka chapter. We are thankful on behalf of the Minds United Trust and the Indian Teachers of Psychiatry for her donations for mental health services for the destitutes and rural poor. Particularly, we are immensely thankful she thought of providing funds for enriching the STEPS program, and this has been her immense contribution. She personally conveyed that she would not be able to join the program, but she is keenly looking at who are these teachers who are going to be trained, what is the implication of this, and for her gesture, we are immensely thankful. I should thank Dr. Sunanda Kulkarni. She's a senior professor of OBG Bengaluru, editor of Essentials of Psychiatry for OBG practitioner. She's one of the most humble clinicians I have come across. She's an expert teacher. Anybody from Karnataka who has been in the field of OBG knows her, that she's a focused on people. She's a people-centered clinician. She has authored many books with special interest in mental health. Very interestingly, she has ensured all the royalty from the book sale plus donation to initiate an exclusive award for best research on women mental health, which is Srimati Vimala Kulkarni Award since 2018 for any OBG postgraduate in the state of Karnataka who has worked with mental health. So both of them have thought that our venture to train psychiatry teachers is going to be the single best investment we can do on this auspicious day. We are immensely thankful. I would like to thank, in addition, which is little out of what we have mentioned, Professor Mohan Isaac, who is also the speaker from the University of Western Australia and a visiting professor of NIMHANS and Manipal, who is well known across the world of fraternity of psychiatrists. He ensured support for young psychiatry teachers very early. He enabled psychiatry fraternity, renewed the mentorship program at all levels. He provides 24/7 guidance from anywhere in the world. He is very humble, humane, with lot of wisdom and generous. Very interestingly, he was the one who said he will fund the Minds United Trust at very early period, and he made sure that liberal personal funds from his pockets are given to this unique program, which directly benefits psychiatry teachers in India. With this, I would like to convey we are in gratitude to Ms. Sunanda, Dr. Sunanda Kulkarni, Srimati Sudha Murty, and Professor Mohan Isaac. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I'm done.
Yeah. Thank you, Kishor. Anyway, you also lessened my burden in introducing Professor Mohan K. Isaac, sir. So, who is the next speaker? So, moving further, we have Professor Mohan K. Isaac, sir, speaking on his international experiences about investing in training of psychiatry teachers, while also answering the question, is there a need for exclusive scholarship for psychiatry teachers? Professor Mohan K. Isaac is a clinical professor of psychiatry, Division of Psychiatry, Faculty of Health and Medical Sciences, the University of Western Australia, and also visiting professor at NIMHANS, MAHE, and JSS University. So over to you, sir.
I'm intervening for a minute. Dr. Mohan, I have a commitment to keep at 6 o'clock. Kindly bear with me.
Sure, sir.
Before you go away, I just wanted to thank you very much for, this wonderful inauguration. I was going to say as my first sentence that this is a very blessed program because it is inaugurated by not only just a professor emeritus, but a lifelong teacher who began by quoting Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan and D.S. Kochari from the first two Educational Commission, and also quoting all the qualities of a teacher. Thank you very much for your presence. And thank you very much.
I will be missing it, but bear with me. I have a commitment.
No, you will not miss anything. You are a great teacher. Thank you very much for coming and inaugurating this program. I'm sure this will be an immense success because it's inaugurated by somebody like you. Thank you very much, sir.
Pleasure.
Okay. I think it has been a wonderful beginning to this program. We are starting on the World Mental Health Day of 2020. This morning, somebody told me this is very special. Today is 10/10/2020. Of course, it happens to be 10/10/2020. World Mental Health Day. The theme is greater awareness, greater reach, greater funding, etc., etc. And it's auspicious that the IToP, the Indian Teachers of Psychiatry group, thought of using this occasion to start a very novel program, a new program, an enrichment program for teachers of psychiatry in India. I would take only about 4 or 5 minutes to tell you what is happening internationally as far as enrichment of psychiatry teachers are concerned. Nothing very organized, nothing very formal. One of the first points I would like to mention is that as far as psychiatry training is concerned, both for medical students, that is the undergraduate medical education, as well as training of postgraduates, what is most striking when you look at the scenario all over the world is that it is very highly variable. Of course, there is a certain pattern in Western European countries, Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand, etc. Then, of course, there's wide variation. If you look at Asia, no two countries are similar. Even the period of training to become a psychiatrist variable from maybe 1 year, 1.5 years to 5 years to 7 years. So that's the first point. Now, most of the Western countries which have fairly organized training programs for medical students in psychiatry, as well as psychiatry postgraduate, that is the training to become a psychiatrist. I'm referring now to, let's say, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. The big difference from the psychiatry training in our country and in those countries is that the primary responsibility of training psychiatrists, not only training psychiatrists, but also teaching medical students in psychiatry, primarily rests with organizations. The American Psychiatric Association in the United States, the Royal College of Psychiatrists in UK, the Royal Australian New Zealand College of Psychiatrists, similarly the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in Canada. So it is primarily the professional body who is in charge of training, deciding the guidelines, giving the degrees, examinations, deciding who the teachers are, who the examiners are. And necessarily, most psychiatrists, definitely not only the ones who are teaching, but also in private practice, have a teaching role, because the training is not primarily carried out. The undergraduate training is by certainly universities, but the postgraduate training, the Royal Australian New Zealand College of Psychiatrists Fellowship Program, or the Royal College of Psychiatrists Fellowship Program, or these are done by the colleges and literally all members of the college who are practicing in government hospitals, private hospitals, people who are in consultation practice. All of them have a role in teaching, because in many places, even psychiatrists under training are posted to private settings. Now, how are they trained? I told you already, there are here and there books, and there are workshops, and there are occasional faculty development programs. But the mainstay is the CPD. Every person in clinical practice have to complete their continuing professional development, and that is mandatory for renewing their degree and the license to practice, and that also includes their teaching skills. So the point is that there is no uniform pattern. It's widely variable across the world. Now, coming to our country, the Indian Psychiatric Society doesn't have a major role. It is the universities, it is the Medical Council of India till quite recently, and the new body which has replaced the Medical Council of India, which will oversee the training programs, both at the undergraduate level and the postgraduate level. Now, before coming to India, let me also say that there have been a lot of criticisms about teaching medical students about psychiatry, because in many countries, most notably in the United Kingdom, there has been a recruitment crisis. It is slowly getting better, but for about 8-10 years, you may all have read papers in the psychiatry journals about how they are not able to get young people to take up psychiatry. And part of the blame was on teachers who did not teach the medical students in the right way about psychiatry. So much so nobody wanted to take up psychiatry. The recruitment crisis for psychiatry was there very much in UK. In fact, several years ago when I went to Australia, that was one of the big problems. Seats used to be vacant. Nobody wanted to do psychiatry. And many people thought that this was a problem of training medical students in psychiatry who were not inspired, or who never had that interest in taking psychiatry. So now coming to India, we are witnessing vast changes. Large number of medical colleges, about 450 medical colleges, or maybe 500 medical colleges, more than that, 45,000 medical students, about 3,000 to 3,500 psychiatry teachers. This is undergraduate students. At this point in time, I don't have to highlight the point that the training and the teaching, the quality, etc., is not satisfactory. It is again highly variable. I mean, in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, or the St. John's Medical College, or the JSS, or the CMC Vellore, of course, the undergraduate psychiatry training is good. They have good faculty. They are experienced teachers. But what about the large number of medical colleges elsewhere in the country? Many of them are one-man department, two-man departments. Many of them are manned by young people who have just finished their MD without any adequate training in psychiatry. So there is a great need for equipping our teachers in psychiatry to be the teachers of the kind which our distinguished Dr. Vedprakash Mishra mentioned. They are inspirers, they are role models, they are communicators. Now, we don't come with all this. And during our 5 years of training in medicine, we are not taught, including our 4 or 5 years training in psychiatry, we are not taught to be teachers. We learn psychiatry, we learn how to diagnose, how to manage patients. We are never taught how to train other people. And that teaching methodology itself is a very, very sophisticated kind of task. So it is to pick up people and give them an enrichment. I think everybody requires this. Hopefully, in years to come, we might be able to increase the number of scholarships. But at this point in time, 4 people will be selected through a very rigorous selection process, and they will be given not only a scholarship, but a 20 hours enrichment program online spread over 20 weeks by very eminent and qualified teachers who themselves have gone through this teachers training program in various places, both from India and abroad. So this is what has been just now inaugurated. I think that this is a tremendously important program. This is indeed a great investment, and this being done on the World Mental Health Day, it could not have been more auspicious than this. An investment in a good teacher is a great investment in large number of well-trained doctors. And we know, we have been talking about the mental health problems, the rapid increase in mental health problems because of COVID. Now, we don't know what is going to be there post-COVID. Every day, the newspapers, as well as the medical journals, are full of the immense crisis. People are saying that the post-COVID health and mental health crisis is going to be much worse than, more worse than the COVID crisis itself. So we need to equip our teachers, and the program which has been inaugurated just now is a novel program. It has to, the key people who are going to be the faculty will have to do some very creative hard work in designing an online program and then deliver it. And of course, the proof of the pudding would be the first or second or third batch of people who come through the scholarship. So I have great pleasure to wish all success and good luck for this program. And thank you very much for asking me to, talk about the international experience. I stop here. Thank you. Back to the chairpersons.
Thank you very much, Professor Mohan Isaac, sir, for sharing your expertise from your vast experience. And you have given a very clear answer for, is there a need for exclusive scholarship for psychiatry teachers? With the situation scenarios, you have made it clear that there is a very felt need for such a program. We thank you for sharing your expertise. Continuing with the session, now may I call Dr. T.S. Satyanarayan Rao, Senior Professor of Psychiatry from JSS Medical College and Hospital and Honorary Secretary of IPS, to address on the role of IPS in training psychiatry teachers. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. And what else I can ask, that there are almost 4 inspirational idols in this particular program. Dr. Vedprakash ji, whatever few sentences he can speak, he can mesmerize everybody, but one of the extraordinary great soul. I entered Indian psychiatry when Dr. Mohan Isaac was president of UPS Karnataka that particular time. And Dr. Sudha Murty and Dr. Sunanda Kulkarni are the household names in this part of the country. Coming to the people who are running the show, we are really impressed with the fact that, of course, Kishor was my, I can say almost like he was my student, doing a great job. Vinay, I am always mesmerized by his capacity to train students, how a man can do wonderful things. And in JSS, I am well aware of Arun's great job in doing research and teaching training area. So, and of course, Vedprakash is there, editor, but he is also one of the men on and off. All the students are behind him to take classes and help them get inspired. So it is indeed a great day. Coming to Indian Psychiatric Society, I am extremely happy that President places extraordinary interest in this particular initiative. Can you imagine that for a society, there is one special subcommittee for undergraduate training, there is a special subcommittee for postgraduate training, and we brought in Dr. Ashok and Dr. Kishor as an IPS training initiative because it needs a little coordinated effort. That but this particular society is having three people, three major categories of people running the show, only indicates how much actually importance the Indian Psychiatric Society places. We are all well aware we are going through market changes. In fact, one can almost say revolutionary changes in teaching, learning, training, and all these areas. And when we try to look at many of the things that have been brought in fact, we definitely need to undergo ourselves training and be ready for the future. So from that particular angle, I am extremely happy that this initiative has taken shape, and I congratulate each and everyone. And Indian Psychiatric Society can be dependent on any of the initiative that we will be coming forward with. And President also wants that very concrete proposal which can be published and accessible to all the members. That way, whether it is a single teacher department or very, very renowned department, they should be able to take a lot of carry home messages and implement it. So this is the idea. I wish this particular initiative all the best and look forward to the people who can get the award, inspire much more number of people. I have Dr. Kiran Kumar here, who was one of the topmost student in, I think this Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences as far as the scoring of marks in psychiatry examinations concerned. So it is a good example that how a student can excel. I wish all the best for all the initiatives that are being taken. Best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So it was nice to know that the IPS is supporting and they're keen to follow the initiative. Nice to know that, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable inputs and encouraging words. So moving further, we have one more resource person in Professor Vedprakash Singh, who is currently editor of Indian Journal of Psychiatry and is professor of psychiatry at NRS Medical College, Kolkata. So he'll be talking about perspective from a psychiatric teacher and his viewpoints about investing in teachers. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I must thank Kishor and you for inviting me. This has been really, really an inspiring evening with Professor Vedprakash and Dr. Mohan Isaac and even Professor T.S.S. Rao. I know how much he controls the GSS. I must word this control word knowingly. So that is the stature of a psychiatry teacher, which we should try to emulate and try to follow in colleges. So since it's a perspective, it is quite a lot of my personal experience also. So what we mean by psychiatry teaching, why it is important, everybody has said, I'm not going much into that. So there is a treatment gap and that cannot be fulfilled. Even if you go on increasing PG seats, ultimately we will not be able to catch up. So how you can catch up is only teachers are important people who can help us to bridge this gap, who can train medical students, nursing students, and again inspiring their postgraduate students to become teacher for life. Because the way psychiatry we are, we have to be a teacher in any, even if you are a practitioner, we have to be a teacher throughout our life. So that is primary job of psychiatry teachers. Only then we can bridge this gap. We cannot bridge this gap by increasing the number of seats. So if we come to psychiatry teaching, so PG teaching in psychiatry institutes, here the role of a teacher is well established. You know, everybody respect that you are professor of psychiatry and your PGs are there. So you are already in your institute, you are quite a sort of major influencer. Their job is to teach the people who are interested in psychiatry, and some people who are not interested in psychiatry but have joined psychiatry. So motivate them to be in psychiatrists. And again, their main job is to research and innovations to be followed by other teachers. And it is, I think, their job to innovations to increase the access to care. And of course, they should go beyond their institutes and inspire people. And a lot of our institutes, NIMHANS and PGI, everybody is doing this. We are proud to have teachers like this. Like Mohan Isaac is himself in a prime example of going this. But what is more important and what my perspective is of teaching in a medical college, from journey from a UG to PG teacher. In a medical college, particularly in a UG college, you need to go beyond being a teacher. Psychiatry is a list priority subject, particularly from exam point of view. You have to compete with teachers of other faculty to become prominent and an influencer. There are cardiologists, anatomy teachers are more important, physiology teachers are more important to the students. And again, clinical teachers are seen as a more important people. So we need to have administrative skills to become member of different college committees. Psychiatrists should be in every college committee. And for that, we need some extra skills to be there. We need to project yourself, inverted comma, a cool person who can gel with the students. Psychiatrists should be, of course, should be different. That students can find them much more acceptable. Need of science, and of course, they need a scientific knowledge when they interact with the other departments. They should talk in so-called common scientific language rather than psychiatric dogma. And we should encourage research with other departments so that they come to know about psychiatry, they're exposed to psychiatry, and they have a favorable view about psychiatry. And students should feel free to contact psychiatry department. Every medical college, there is a lot of talk about stress on medical students, stress on PG students, and psychiatry department is uniquely placed to counsel them, help them. So we should be making a space where students should feel free to come. We must be involved with student welfare. Whole department should develop a culture of being a free space where there is no prejudice and prejudice is banished. So everybody of every hue and color and prejudice opinion can come to our department and talk with us. Teaching psychiatry in such a way that other departments are aware and can benefit from psychiatric input. So when you go to medicine indoor and talk with them, they should understand the value of psychiatry input in their patients. It is not in our patients, but in their patients, what psychiatry can contribute. And that is the way we can make psychiatry popular. So being a psychiatry teacher is not a teacher, it is being a leader. So we need to invest in psychiatry teaching and teachers. We have to learn teaching methods, going beyond our call of duty to educate. We have to be a good communicator and presenter, and being an ambassador for psychiatry. For that, we need investment. We need to learn these skills, because we are not born with these skills. This can be learned, and this requires will, commitment, and resources. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor O.P. Singh, sir, for sharing your perspectives as a teacher in psychiatry about investing in the psychiatry teachers. You also gave a very good narration of journey to be trodden by a psychiatry teacher from being a UG teacher and a PG teacher, at the same time getting into the administrative aspect so as to have a holistic approach in the institution. And you also said that investing in psychiatry teachers will make the psychiatry teacher as brand ambassadors of psychiatry. Points well taken by the audience. Thank you so much for your deliberation. Continuing with the program, now may I call upon Dr. Kiran Kumar, his Associate Professor of Psychiatry from WIMS, Bengaluru, to kindly share his views on does rewarding psychiatry teachers help? A glimpse into awards of psychiatry teachers in India. Over to you, Dr. Kiran Kumar.
Thank you, sir. It's been a wonderful opportunity to present in front of the august audience. I would like to place it on record that it is Dr. T.S.S. Rao who inducted me to this wonderful specialty, and I will be ever grateful to him. And it's a privilege to share the dais with him. Thank you very much, sir. Without much of an ado, I would like to make you people understand why is it important to reward a teacher? Now, this has been an auspicious day, and it is the day of World Mental Health, where one of the things is greater investment. Investment on whom? It's much more probably investment on human resources. So the question is, does rewarding teachers, psychiatry teachers specifically help? And let us see what is the glimpses that we have with respect to our own specialty in our country. So to introduce, India has the highest number of medical colleges, and probably it is increasing day by day. As Dr. Mohana Isaacs has said, there are huge numbers. And what we are moving towards is from quantity to quality. So we are moving towards improving standards of the medical education in the country. These things have been happening from time immemorial. It's nothing new, but probably the dimensions and the challenges have changed. To help faculty succeed at these teaching tasks, faculty development is the key, and this was realized by authors way back in the 1990s to 2000. And medical school faculty are assuming multiple teaching roles as per Haddon and Crosby way back in 2000. That probably all of us as teachers would acknowledge it. It is just not a teacher. We have become multitaskers. As Dr. O.P. Singh sir was telling, we need to be an administrator, we need to be a facilitator, a good role model, a good course planner, and evaluator and mentor. Keeping the decorum of the forum that we are in today, I've restricted myself to it. But probably if you see some of the recent WhatsApp forwards, list of a medical college teacher that he or she has to perform runs into more than 50 to 60 tasks kind of a thing. So it is becoming definitely challenging. The quality of teaching has been a vision and a mission statement of most of the institutes. If you look at the website of any leading institution, it probably goes something like this. It serves all sections of the community by the excellence in its teaching, the quality of its teaching, all students from various backgrounds too, and blah, 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 it goes on. What emphasis I would like to make here is it's on the excellence of the teaching and what is the byproduct of the teaching that the whole medical college institution talks about. So what about the recognition for teaching? Teaching is part of an ancient profession. It is probably as old as medicine itself, and it's nothing new. But however, it has been undervalued since time immemorial, and currently it's being followed to be undervalued. Promotions on the ground of teaching ability is generally underemphasized. And this study by Tuckman and Hagman way back in 1976 said that remuneration of some 3,000 American academics dependent on several factors, of which excellence in teaching was not at all a feature. The point I'm making here is teaching as an excellence is boosted upon, but probably the teachers are not recognized. This has led to a huge problem among teachers, among medical college teachers, where it is leading to burnout. Yes, burnout is just not physical, physiological. I'm talking about emotional burnout, which has led to poor teaching material, poor probably progeny coming out of it. So how do we motivate teachers? That's where probably we are. It's more of probably investment in the assets. So rewarding is always been a wonderful phenomenon. Rewarding for teaching excellence should be the way ahead. So is it something new? That again is a question. There are a lot of challenges because rewarding has not been new. There have been many institutions across the globe having existing mechanisms to determine staff efficiency and effectiveness in teaching. But however, these criteria are often vague and difficult to implement, and there are a lot of studies proving this point. So current initiatives have been taken in our country, have been taken in our state. We ourselves at Minds have taken few initiatives. We thought, let us be slightly broader because probably an UG itself is a teacher, a PG himself is a teacher. So we had initiated 2 awards at the level of undergraduate and postgraduate education, and it's been taken up very well. Indian Psychiatric Society Karnataka chapter has a distinguished award for in the name of Professor R. Raghuram Young Teacher Award. But this is slightly mostly for teachers. It has a narrow definition. But yes, these are some of the awards and recognition that has been bestowed to a lot of our colleagues, and all of us have been very happy. But it's probably a small drop in the big ocean. So recognition and encouragement is the way forward. Teachers who have introduced innovations or contributed to improvement in medical education should be duly recognized and awarded or rewarded. There should be a mechanism for periodic review and performance of teachers. Probably with this aim and objectives is where we took up the initiative of steps, and it has been a wonderful day for its inauguration. Thank you very much. I end my brief presentation here.
Thank you, Dr. Kiran. It was indeed very well said. So you have highlighted the importance of rewarding medical teachers and in particular psychiatry teachers to recognize and encourage them. Thank you. Thank you for that. There's a small announcement for the audience here. So those of you who are participating in this session and want to comment or pass queries, so please put it in the chat box so that it reaches our speakers and also the chairpersons so that that can be answered accordingly. Okay, thank you. So moving further, we have a trustee of Minds United for Health Sciences and Humanity, Mr. Ravindranath N. Rao. So who will be speaking on behalf of the trust as to why should a public charitable trust invest in psychiatry teachers? So over to you, Mr. Ravindranath.
Yeah, thank you, Vinay. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all the dignitaries for making to the program. I have been associated with the trust since 2014, since its inception. The whole focus of the trust has been to educate students, educate the teachers. We have reached out to the students, to the teachers. It has been our endeavor to propagate the health sciences and humanity. And trust is keenly exploring on those areas that affects millions of people, usually who are actually unaddressed. It has been a statistics of World Health Organization which tells that more than $3 trillion worth of mental health issues has not been addressed. And for every dollar spent, there will be more than $3 of saving. It is also a psychiatry, one of the core areas of our trust. And if you see, there are more than 3 doctors who are focusing on psychiatry are a part of our trust. And I think only I'm the finance guy. That shows the focus of the trust. Interestingly, most of our funds for the trust has come from those people who have shown interest towards mental health sciences, including Infosys Foundation. And India being one of the biggest populated country with the highest number of medical colleges, I think more than 500 medical colleges training more than 450,000 doctors at any given point of time, shows the importance of our investment towards the psychiatry profession and through that impacting the society. And if you see, we have already initiated many awards which are propagating the teachers, particularly like Vimla Kulkarni Award for OBG or Dr. C. Somasundar Award for the well-being. Even now the Teachers for Psychiatry Award for undergraduates and postgraduates, which has been initiated through this STEPS program. And actually we are focusing and scheduling more than ₹1 lakh towards this kind of awards. We believe that every charitable institution should start focusing on training the society through the teachers, and particularly investing on psychiatry teachers is very paramount importance. Thanking you. Back to you, Vinay.
Thank you, Mr. Ravindranath, for sharing your views on why a charitable trust will fund such a program. And we acknowledge the generosity of Infosys Foundation for funding this program. And continuing with the program, now may I call upon Dr. Henal Shah, Madam. She is additional professor of psychiatry, TNMC and Nair Hospital. And she is co-director of FIBER Regional Institute, Mumbai, to speak on investing in psychiatry teachers, those who teach undergraduates. Will the CBME require competency-based medical education required this gesture? Over to you, Dr. Hinal, ma'am.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're audible, ma'am.
Thank you. First of all, let me express my gratitude to Minds United and to IToP for inviting me over here today for this wonderful gesture. And I have taken the liberty of preparing an embedded video, and if you would permit me, I'd like to share that. If I talk to people who who've been in psychiatry or been studying MBBS, they look and think about psychiatry in undergraduate. Is it so important? Well, in exams, it's an option, or even if it is a one question, they're very standard answers. Biological, psychological, and social etiology and treatment is equally simple. Lectures, do they really occur, and does anybody go? Postings, my residents who are with me currently have also said that they've not done psychiatry postings. That's how psychiatry is taught in undergraduate. How is it across the world? In USA, behavioral sciences are taught in the first year, and during the first 2 years, there are about 60 hours of teaching very important psychosocial areas. In the third year, 30 hours are devoted to practical teaching of psychiatry. In the fourth year, there is a full-time posting of 8 weeks. That's the time they even go for OBS and gynac. So it's as long as that posting. What about UK? They have 80 hours devoted to behavioral science. During the clinical course of 36 weeks, once a week, they learn about history taking. And then for 3 months, they're posted there. Finally, in the finals, they have a case. South Asia, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, medical students need to pass examination in psychiatry to qualify for medical degree. Excuse me. While in India, we've tried very hard to get a medical examination. MCI and now NMC has so far not done anything, but there have been universities like Rishikesh AIIMS who have a UG examination for their students, and kudos for the effort and the work they're doing. But why is it such a big issue? Well, the prevalence of mental health disorders, as per our NMET survey, is 14%. The global burden of disease highlighted that 1 in 7 is affected by mental health disorder. With such a huge burden, it is not only psychiatrists who are going to look after the mental health of our population. We need all physicians to be aware of mental health disorders. And there have always been challenges to training, whether it is lack of trainers, whether there is inadequate orientation, cultural view of psychiatry, inadequate exposure in the early MBBS years to build up to psychiatry, lack of political and administrative motivation, to name just a few. But when we look at it now, with the new curriculum, we know that the role of IMG has many things which require psychiatry. And we want to lure the best brains in psychiatry, and even the faculty feels that they need training. So it is important to think of UG teachers training. The medical graduate, as visioned by 2015 vision, says he or she should be a clinician, leader, communicator, professional, and a lifelong learner. Many of these link to psychiatry in some way or the other. To achieve this CBME, one is to realize that people looked into what is the curricular change that is required, what is the burden of disease, what is the perception of the curricular deficiencies, and student feedback. Though I must confess they've not done justice to psychiatry, because they look at the burden of disease and they look at the deficiencies, much more should have been done for psychiatry. Nevertheless, they came up with a competency-driven learning. We are not an actual competency learning-based curriculum because we don't have that freedom in terms of time or assessment techniques that are so particular with competency. But we have taken a few points and put it in context with our training and said we'll have a contextually driven competency-based curriculum. Competency is an approach in preparing physicians to practice. We are really looking at that the people who pass and become the Indian medical graduate will be oriented to psychiatry abilities, and their capability will be organized according to the needs of the population. So time is not such an important factor. You have to train so that they learn. And people who were experts, including those in psychiatry, have prepared a list of competencies for every discipline. An expert group has collated all of them and developed a final list of competencies. And that's how this competency-based curriculum was started. However, the restructured course ensures that the student participates actively in the learning process and becomes competent clinically. They have a 1-month foundation course and which will help in orientation of students. And the key elements are integration, and psychiatry has been integrated to various subjects. Early clinical exposure, having electives, and we can really think of interesting electives for psychiatry, skill development, and secondary hospital exposure. It has the advantage of being more objective, standardized, this curriculum, importance of formative assessment, and more student-centric methods of teaching. However, to really implement this curriculum, you need more trained faculty. The total, they've not clarified a few aspects such as remediation, how if one passes into, gets internal examinations, they fail and they pass the external, how is it going to work out? But I think the most worrisome thing is that there is going to be no inspection, and it is expected colleges will follow through. And therefore colleges and faculty have to be equipped to understand and follow it through. There are no certifiable skills, especially in psychiatry, and therefore we are worried whether this is good enough for psychiatry. What's the role of IPS duty committee? Well, the IPS committee under Dr. Kishor and Dr. Ashok Mysore and Dr. Nishchal have come up with a draft, and that draft has specific learning objectives, lectures, schedule of clinical postings, and maybe will create lesson plans also. The assessment is not very clear. It's left to the universities to develop their assessments. While world over, many people talk of expected professional accountability and EPAs, we have not reached there. However, we have got competencies and sub-competencies, and we are hoping to assess all of them. For psychiatry, I think the biggest problem is there are no certifiable skills. And the second, how do we ensure quality when we are going to implement it in 532 medical schools with 76,876 seats in India? It cannot be achieved without extensive faculty development, intensive monitoring and evaluation of the program. One of the reasons, therefore, IToP is necessary. It is looking at development of teachers, and this is a contribution of IToP, which I really appreciate. Thank you, and then we are open for questions.
Thank you, madam. Yeah, we are very thankful for you. In spite of your health issues, you could make it to the program, and also in the brief session that you had. So you kind of brought in the challenges that are there in the undergraduate psychiatric training, while also mentioning about the mental health needs of the community and linking it with undergraduate psychiatric training. You also set a context that, yeah, this current scholarship could be contributing towards it. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you. Moving further, so we have last session coming up. So we have one more resource person, Dr. Vikas Menon, who's an additional professor of psychiatry at JIPMER, Pondicherry. So we'll be speaking on investing in psychiatric teachers, those who teach postgraduates. And in the process, he'll be answering the question, where should we begin? So over to you, Dr. Vikas.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinay. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to begin by thanking Minds United and IToPs for giving me this privilege to present my thoughts on this topic of where we should begin by teaching, by investing in psychiatry teachers who teach postgraduates, and this on this very auspicious occasion of the World Mental Health Day, and amidst so many luminaries and many teachers whom I consider as my mentors, T.S.S. Rao sir, O.P. Singh sir, Mohan Isaac sir. So thank you so much. This is a very interesting topic, how to design a course for teaching the teachers of psychiatry. So obviously, I'm just going to list a few steps that we have, that I can shortlist from the literature and some of my own perspectives. So the first thing is to identify probably the learning needs. When you want to design a course for teaching teachers of psychiatry, you need to first decide what are the learning needs. That should be perhaps a starting point. So here we need to ask ourselves, what do the learners want? Here, of course, the learners are the teachers themselves. So one useful way to split up the needs would be into real needs versus perceived needs. So real needs are more objective, that is decided by the local policies, local guidelines and research that is available into this aspect, whereas perceived needs are those that are defined by the learners themselves. So real needs would provide a solid foundation to design educational objectives for the course, whereas perceived needs can be used to refine these objectives and to gain insights into the learner's motivation. So how do you do a needs analysis? So there are various techniques that you can do to identify the needs of the teachers who are going to be the learners. So you can do interviews with experts. You can do a review of literature. These two techniques would be more helpful to identify the real needs, and to identify perceived needs, you can go for methods like questionnaire-based surveys. There has been previous questionnaire-based surveys that has been carried out by the IToPs group and published in the Indian Journal of Psychiatry and Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine. You can also have small focus group discussions with the teachers who are undergoing these courses in order to really find out their perceived needs and integrate that into this course so that you deliver a course that is more aspirational and is more impactful. Then probably once you've identified the needs, the next step is to set learning aims and objectives. So here, the objectives that are designed have to be SMART. So that's the acronym for objectives. So S stands for specific, that is, they should be clearly spelled out and detailed. The objective should be measurable, that is, it can be tested. It should be achievable in terms of the time and resources that are given to the learners. It should be relevant and appropriate to the learner, and it should be timed. That is it should be in a specific time frame that is given. These objectives should be achievable. So after setting the objectives, probably the next thing is to now decide the curricular content or the course content for this teaching the teachers. So here there has been some research that has gone on into this aspect, very general research, not very specific to psychiatry. And there has been some recommendations in this regard, which has been mostly gleaned from some of the needs analysis techniques that we discussed, like interviews with experts, review of literature, questionnaire-based surveys of both consultants as well as junior doctors in medicine, in the medical profession. So some of the key elements which have been described in these in this research, in this evidence, are as follows. That is, give feedback constructively. It's very essential for a teacher to know how to give feedback constructively. So it's essential to teach the skill in a teaching the teacher's course. Feedback is now recognized as a very powerful tool to refine the performance of the learner. How to keep up to date? That is also a very important content. How to assess the trainees' learning needs so that the teacher can modulate their teaching style, teaching method, teaching learning media, and so on. How to build a good educational climate that fosters trust, support, cooperation, and enables the learner to perform optimally. What are the attributes of good versus bad teaching? Now, these are all things that we need to think about how we can incorporate this into a course for teachers of psychiatry. Practical teaching skills in terms of small group teaching, problem solving. Now, these are very topical teaching skills that are now coming up in a big way. So we need to be very contemporary when we design the course. And as we just now discussed, how to set smart learning objectives. It's very essential for a teacher to know how to use various TL media, teaching learning media and methods, and how to integrate them into a single class or a single unit of teaching. Invariably, some of the feedback that we get from students are that they listen and assimilate better when the teacher uses a mix of media and methods in their instructional unit compared to teachers who stick on to a single TL media or method. Incidentally, the PowerPoint is now been gaining a lot of negative feedback from the students. So we need to think about all this when we design a course for teachers of psychiatry. And finally, how can teachers themselves evaluate the teaching that they have done? So after having designed the curricular course content, now how to deliver this to the teachers of psychiatry? So there are a variety of teaching methods that you can choose, but what you actually choose in the course would depend on the objectives. Obviously, if you're teaching theoretical skills versus practical content, you need to design your teaching methods appropriately. So it would depend on that, depend on the resources that are available to you, depend on learner related factors also, like what kind of medium they are familiar with, what is their motivation and things like that. But whatever teaching learning method you use, it would have to be following the principles of adult learning and especially incorporating active participation from the learner's side. So if you're doing a lecture, for example, you would have to talk about how to do interactive lectures, because interactive lectures rather than didactic lectures tends to maintain the interest and attention, engages learners better. So that is a very important skill that has to be imparted to teachers. And of course, now small group teaching is now coming up. It is a more powerful medium to engage the learners, make it more interactive, and also a better way to teach higher order cognitive skills like reasoning and problem solving. And within the small group teaching itself, you can use a lot of interactive methods like buzz sessions, role plays. So these buzz sessions are very important, a very interesting thing where learners are divided into groups of 3 or 4, and they're given a topic to work on, discuss within their group, and then given a very short period of time, few minutes, and then they can come back and present to a larger group. So all these techniques have to be taught and incorporated into any teachers of psychiatry course. And finally, assessment and evaluation. So assessment and evaluation of any educational course, we have the Kirkpatrick hierarchy to guide us. So in terms of the impact, you can assess what is the impact that the teacher's course has made on the style of teaching and ultimately on delivery of healthcare, which is the ultimate goal. What is the change in terms of the performance of learners compared to before they attended the course compared to after the course? The learning, what are the new knowledge and skills that the learners have gained from this course? Of course, the learners are the teachers themselves. And what is the learner's reaction in terms of what they have gained from this course? And finally, to what extent they have actively participated in the course. So these are all things that we can think about in terms of assessment and evaluation of the impact of a teachers in psychiatry course. So to conclude, the 5 essential steps where we can think this could be used as a starting point for designing any course for teachers of psychiatry: how to identify the learning needs, how to set learning aims and objectives, how to design the course content, and how to deliver the teaching, and how to assess and evaluate the teaching course. Thank you for a patient listening, and I hand over back to the organizers.
Thank you, Dr. Vikas, for sharing your views on teaching and how the objectives could be SMART from postgraduate point of view, and also bringing the relevance of this scholarship program and how it could help enrichment of the psychiatry teachers of India. I thank all the speakers in this shared their expertise, and I request Dr. Vinay to please take over.
Yeah. There are a few comments and queries. So because of short of time, we'll just take only few of them. So Dr. Kusuma KS from Mysore, she has said that the program is on the investment on mental health, and indeed it's very unique initiative about scholarship for teacher training in psychiatry. I hope this would serve as a stimulus for other branches in medicine, as teachers are very important in all branches. So maybe the trust can initiate the scholarship for other branches too. So it is for the trustees that to make note of it, that yeah, someone is wishing for initiating the scholarship in other branches too. So that was a comment. And there's one other query from Dr. Ivan Netto from Pune. So how does one make the government invest more in mental health? Somebody, Professor Mohan sir.
Yes, I will. Dr. Netto himself is a very eminent teacher. I have personally known him for a long time. Thank you for the question. Being a very experienced teacher and very experienced clinician, psychiatrist in the country, he always asks the most difficult question. In fact, I was speaking at a World Mental Health Day program this morning. And of course, it was cynically, but I said that I'm aware of a Health for All campaign more than 25 years ago. I was talking about the Alma-Ata Declaration, Health for All by 2000 AD. It was declared by the World Health Organization, the UNICEF, and a number of other organizations. People working in India, not only in India, all over the world, know what happened to that Health for All slogan and the theme, etc. at that time. Today, we have mental health for all. Today is 10-10-20-20, as I said earlier. Greater investment in greater, access. Days are for observing, for advocacy, but how much of it comes to policy and governmental, implementation varies from country to country. I work in a country where there's much greater implementation. In fact, the country for mental health, there has been bipartisan support. That is one of the ways in which Australia managed the COVID much better than most other countries. It is now rated as one of the most successful ways of managing. But in India, we have a big problem because the 2019-2020 allocation for not mental health, just for health, is only 1.29%. When this is comparable to not comparable, of course, this is even lower than some of the sub-Saharan African countries. It's a big task. All of us have to talk about this. We have to talk to our parliamentarians. We have a lot of slogans. We now hear about the Ayushman Bharat. Yesterday I listened to a World Mental Health Day program where the local health commissioner, mental health director, they all talked about Karnataka is a good example. Not many other states are that good. When you talk to the government, they say funding is never a problem. We don't have enough people to work. But there is a big problem. And how can we, coming back to your question, how can we get greater investment? I think the IToP and the Mindstress thought of a novel way of investing in teachers. This is not a huge amount of money. It's a scholarship. If you get interested people, it would be a great investment because such as Henel and other speakers have said, if you invest in a teacher, you are investing in so many more doctors who will then work in our rural areas, etc., and take care of mental health. But otherwise, coming back to your question, it's a difficult task. We'll have to keep talking about it all the time. We have to talk to our parliamentarians, whether you are in government setup or private setup. We have to constantly talk about investment for mental health care. This is no answer, but these are just my random thoughts. Thank you, Dr. Nitto, for the question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering that. We'll just take one other question here. So this is Ashok Kumar Patel from Balrampur. Since COVID-19 pandemic is ongoing and there are more and more talk about psychology and psychological well-being. So just wanted to know why this aspect is neglected during the talk of your speakers. Dr.
Only
Kishor.
focus is teachers training,
Okay.
so obviously the other things were not taken up.
No,
Yes,
I
sir.
just want
Yeah.
to say that we have been telling people from psychology for last 2 years, for any research on human values and well-being, there's an exclusive award in the name of Professor Sri Shamsundar, who is a recognized name in psychiatry. And the award is a cash prize with certificate and memento. We have never forgotten psychology, which is so close to psychiatry, and for the society we are committed. And the trust also believes that we should constantly coordinate. We will take further guidance from Professor O.P. Singh, Professor T.S.S. Rao, Professor Mohan Isaac, how we can further enhance our team approach in the field of psychiatry and psychology, which benefits the well-being of the society. So I would like to reassure Ashok Kumar Patel that we are all committed to bring two branches together and work on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any of the resource persons want to pass final comments before we'll sum up?
I just want to make a comment that it has been a wonderful inauguration of a novel, creative, new program. This is also within the theme of the World Mental Health Day, greater investing in teachers. And we had a wonderful person to inaugurate it. It would have been good if Sudha Murty Madam also could have come. But I'm delighted that this program is inaugurated. The nitty-gritty of what we need to do, Vikas has already in a very crystal clear way highlighted how to get the objectives, how to construct the program itself, how to deliver it, how to evaluate it, etc., etc. I'm sure this will have anything which is well begun is half done. That's what I believe. So we have a very young, dynamic cream of resource persons and who will run this scholarship. Now we have to wait for the applications. I hope a lot of people will apply. And then, of course, the 4 candidates will undergo this program, and then we'll know how we'll move forward in this. I'm so delighted that today this has occurred. Thank you very much.
Rao
Thank you,
sir
sir.
and Singh sir can also give their final comments.
No. There were a lot of other official job supposed to be done. I'm sitting here actually. I was listening all through. In fact, it was so nice to listen to so many ideas. In fact, meeting so many stalwarts in this, and of course, Dr. Mohan Isaac is looking very different. First time I'm seeing him very different. Thank you very much. It is a great beginning. I'm confident that it will be one of the gem of a committee in the Indian Psychiatric Society armamentarium. All the best.
Thank you, sir. O.P. Singh, sir. Right then. So we've had indeed a fruitful day. So it started on an auspicious note of inaugural by eminent personality in the medical education, Dr. Vedprakash Mishra, and followed by paying of gratitude to Ms. Sudha Murty and Dr. Sunanda Kulkarni. And then Professor Mohan Isaac sir went about narrating his international experiences. Then Professor T.S.S. Rao sir brought in what is the role of IPS in the training of psychiatric teachers. And Professor O.P. Singh provided meaningful inputs as to why investing in teachers. Dr. Kiran Kumar K. So he brought in why should psychiatry teachers, in fact, all medical teachers needs to be rewarded. And trustee Ravindranath N. Rao. So he conveyed his message why the public charitable trust like this is investing in psychiatric teachers. And we have had Dr. Henal Shah Madam and Dr. Vikas Menon saying about investing in psychiatric teachers, both in terms of undergraduation and post-graduation. Of course, Dr. Vikas Menon at the end directed us regarding what should be our next step. So hopefully, with all this meaningful inputs and also continuing the feedback to the mail ID that was shown during the inaugural. So we continue to work towards its logical end. So on behalf of Minds United Trust for Health Sciences and Humanity and IToPs, we formally heartfully thank guests, chief guest and other resource persons for this today to making this program meaningful. Thank you one and all. Stay safe. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.